Hi, Judah family. Hello, welcome. I see you guys out there chatting and getting to know each other. It's so good to be here with you. It's one of my favorite times of the week for sure because of you guys. Okay, tonight we have a lot of fun stuff to do. Before we get started, I'll share a little news. It was my pleasure last Saturday to have a Judah session with Ernest in Trinidad, who was celebrating his 80th birthday. And he came into the session with something really important on his mind. There was a piece of land that is a family inheritance that was being held up in the court system. And so we did some praying around it, some old fashioned praying with Judah. And this was the email that I got on the following Monday. Dear Angie, I'm happy to report that there was an immediate change for the better. My lawyer rose up and took immediate action just as we prayed for on September 16th. She told me so on Monday the 18th, and I thank God to bless you in the Judah channel and look forward to a successful result in all the matters. So that was pretty cool and exciting. So I'll tell you guys on a personal level. Oh, first of all, can somebody out there give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me okay? Because I had some sound problems last week. I just want to make sure everybody's hearing everything okay. So sometimes when I'm doing work with you guys, the ego mind in me says, ooh, are you sure you really want to ask for that for them? I mean, you're really kind of putting yourself out there. What if nothing comes through? What if it's a bomb? And all that kind of stuff, all those fears and doubts and unbelief. But I just go ahead and ask for the highest and best anyway, and hope for the best. Judah, fingers crossed with Judah. And I tell you, sometimes just doing that, just kind of putting yourself out there, it's amazing the kind of responses that come through. And so who knows, is it because of our personal intention, the intention of our heart? Is it the assistance of angels, source? Is it all of that? Who knows? Who knows? But if it works, I'm excited about that. All right. A couple of other bits of news. We met with Olga this week in Washington, and very exciting because she began channeling for the very first time. A group called the Conscious Creators is how they introduced themselves, and they said they're a group of about 700 angelic beings. Great messages that they had for her, really strong, beautiful energy and power. And also, Jules in London began channeling for the first time this week, a group of 10 angels, and they also had a lot of really encouraging messages for her. So this is becoming a pretty common occurrence, that folks that have sessions booked, that are just like, I don't know, that low-hanging fruit, just ready, just ripe, and their angels will begin speaking through them rather than Judah speaking through me, which is so much more fun for me and for them to have that initial contact with their angels and begin channeling. And it's very sweet for me to watch that happen. And it reminds me each time I see it, it's so cool because usually the first messages that come through for these folks are very simple and very loving. Like, we're here, we're with you, we've always been with you. And other just really endearing and supportive messages from their heart to the heart of the one who's channeling them. And so it just reminds me, Judah's here for me, right? Judah's here for all of you guys, but your angels are there for you and your spirit guides are there for you. And Judah's here for me. Judah cares about me, cares about my life, my thoughts, my feelings, my circumstances, my relationships. And so that's the way it is for all of us. Our guardian angels and guides are here just in loving, unselfish service to us. So I'm not any different than you guys. I have Judah, you have your beings that care about you. They see you from an eternal perspective, and they always have you on their mind, and they're always working behind the scenes on your behalf. The last thing I wanted to mention in the way of news is we have 17 spots left for next Sunday night in Charlotte, North Carolina. The first Sunday night of every month, we get together in Charlotte, at Chuck's acupuncture office upstairs. We have a beautiful room that's sacred and set aside just for these meetings. And we do what we're doing now together in the room. And it's been super, super powerful the last couple of months. We have friends driving from all over Canada, Missouri, Virginia, Tennessee, all over the place. And we have a great time. The event lasts about 2 hours, and we try to make it as hands-on, as intimate as we can. And so if you want to come, you can go onto the website and register there. There's 17 spots left. Okay, let's jump in. Do you want to share anything, sweetie? Okay. 3 paths to letting it go. Last week, we started talking about these methods techniques for releasing, for letting it go. We're going to dive in even deeper tonight, but we're going to start by getting a broad sense of, well, first of all, what is the it that we want to let go? Well, for every one of you that's listening, it's something different and unique for you, likely, than it is for me and the other persons listening. And whatever the it is for you that you're struggling to let go of right now, or to shift or change in your life, whatever it is tonight, it's likely going to be something different next week, or 6 months from now, or 2 years from now, right? So doesn't it seem that there's always like an it, there's a problem, there's something that is disturbing us, that is on the horizon, that we think will, if we can get rid of it, change it, shift it, do something different about it, we'll finally be happy. So we started talking about that last week, and we're going to dive in and get a lot of work done tonight, moving the it's out of your experience. Okay, so what is this it that we want to let go of? It's the nouns, the things on the outside that are disturbing you. It's the people, places, things, and ideas that are upsetting, that have got you riled up on the inside, got you feeling sad or angry or frustrated or stuck. And it is the problem, right? The problem. So the problem is what the ego mind is telling you is unacceptable. This is what a problem is something that our attached mind says is not okay, should not exist, shouldn't be, ought to be different than it is. So last week I mentioned that there are a little bit of a teaching that I heard from Eckhart Tolle years ago that was life-changing for me. I've absolutely never forgotten it. And it was this. Yes, dear?
There's a Chinese man who's joined us in this room tonight.
Oh.
Don't know who he is. He's here. He wants us to know that he's here.
Okay. All right, great. Welcome. A Chinese man. Is it Lao Tzu?
I don't know. Could be.
Okay.
Got a lot of hair, big beard.
Okay.
Grayish hair.
All right. Well, if he's ready to channel through you at some point, let me know. Let me know what he's saying.
I'm not a channeler, but thanks anyway.
I don't believe that. Did you guys hear Chuck? He just said he's not a channeler. I do not believe that. All right. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have some surprises tonight.
Maybe Judah will know who it is.
Sounds good. Okay. Ooh, yeah, I can feel that. Feels like tickles on my forehead. Okay. So back to what Eckhart said that was so life-changing for me. He says the ego needs 3 things. It needs to be special, it needs to be right, and it needs conflict, problems, or drama. Boy, he just read my mail when he said that. I wrote those 3 things down on a Post-it note. I stuck it over my kitchen window, and it stayed there for years until it was so deeply embedded in my being that I've just never forgotten it. And so now, Chuck can probably tell you, when I start acting out in the ego, I'll usually tell him, this is my ego. I'll preface my tirade by saying, this is my ego and I am aware of it, but I can't seem to stop it right now. And sometimes he'll say, yes, you can. And sometimes I actually do. I actually have the grace to stop. And sometimes I don't. And that's okay too. But the ego, this is how you spot it. Why do I keep talking about the ego, right? Am I just like beating a dead horse? Well, I'm talking about it because it is the reason why we suffer. Without it, there really is almost zero suffering. And so it's the thing that's keeping us from being happy, from laughing, from being joyful and dancing and enjoying our life and doing and being what we love to do. So that's why I'm going to keep talking about it, because I want you to be so slick, so sly. I want you to be so street smart about understanding what the ego is, that you spot it immediately in yourself and in others, so that you can disarm it. So the ego wants to have problems, conflict, and drama. And the ego's really creative, right? Sometimes your external environment could be completely peaceful and everything could be going along just great. And your ego will actually pick a fight with someone just to have some conflict or drama to work on. Like, problems are the food of the ego, of the pain that's inside of us. And this pain surfaces every so often and wants to eat. It's hungry. And what does it eat or feed on? It feeds on this drama. So the truth is, there isn't really any such thing as a problem. If there was a true definition for a problem is what the ego codes as a threat or as unwanted. Okay. And so it's the attached ego mind that causes us suffering, not all the nouns, the things going on around us and our environment. So the suffering is caused by what we think and feel about what's going on in the environment, not by the actual things that are happening. So when we are unconscious in our ego, we're judging and rejecting what is. Yes, we're judging and rejecting what is. Yes, 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 yes. Judah wants to talk about this. Acceptance of what is the only beginning place for change. As long as you are not accepting what is, then there's no possibility for change. For to deny or reject what is to deny the truth. And no freedom can come without truth. Truth is the constant companion of freedom. And so if you're rejecting what is, you are rejecting life. You are saying life is not okay. Life is not as it should be. Something's gone awry here. And so when you are rejecting what is, or frustrated or disturbed by it, you are saying, God, the universe, angels, you don't know what you're doing. You're screwing it up. Wake up. You're screwing it up. That is what you are saying, you see. And so the human mind, the ego mind, thinks it's smarter than God, thinks it has it all figured out, thinks it knows the recipe for happiness. Well, we would tell you that if you knew the recipe for happiness, you would be happy. And the only reason you are unhappy is because you don't know the recipe for happiness. And so if you are operating under the assumption that God is a screw up that can't manage to bring you what you want and need, then you are operating in falsity and misunderstanding. So to see anything or anyone as a problem is a lack of perspective, of higher dimensional perspective. Good. Thank you, Judah. So whenever we're coding things as a problem, remember we said the ego always the amygdala wants to code things as a threat or something that could potentially bring us pleasure. So when we're thinking from that part of our mind, we're under the spell of the ego. The ego's hijacked the car of our life, of our thought processes, of our emotions, and is just driving the car willy-nilly wherever. So to reject what is to reject God or to reject life. And so to begin to get free, what we want to begin with is having a fundamentally different perspective about quote unquote problems. So to be accurate, a problem is an external happening that is neutral, right? And we are suffer on the inside of it because we've judged it as not okay. So to give you a little kind of practical example, I want you to imagine, imagine two men who have not eaten or had any water or anything to drink for 3 days. Imagine that. Is that a problem? Do you think? Is that a problem? Two men who've had nothing to eat or drink. Now imagine that one of them is homeless, sitting on the street or on a park bench with no job, and they have not eaten or drunk anything for 3 days. Does that sound like a problem to you? Now think about this second man. He is hidden away, high in the Himalayan mountains, in a cave or secluded monastery. He is all alone. He is there in a state of bliss, in a state of perfect peace, in a state of meditation, and he also has eaten nothing or drank nothing for 3 days. Is that a problem? So what is the difference between the two stories? The only difference is the context, yet the reality is the same. So why is one a problem and the other is not? It is simply a matter of perspective based on the external circumstance. But you see, one has no disturbance on the inside. One is a master, one is in peace. And perhaps also the homeless man may also be in perfect peace. Perhaps he is a master as well. Perhaps he on his park bench is also in a state of bliss. And so you see, the suffering is only based upon the judgment of the one having the experience. Good. You got something on that? Yeah? Anything on that? No? Okay. So the primary source of our suffering is always our ego mind or our unconsciousness. Now, if you're familiar with the Law of One, which is a really powerful, what I would consider a sacred text, it's a channeled text. The entity that speaks is named Ra. He calls problems catalysts. And so a catalyst is something that creates an opportunity for change. So here's my little challenge for all of us this week, to actually even try this as a practice of awareness. Stop using the word problem. Instead, say challenge or opportunity or catalyst. And just kind of scratch the word from your vocabulary. See if you can do it. So you see, a master makes use of a problem as a catalyst for freeing themselves and freeing other people. And Lao Tzu said, thus the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone, and I'll add to that, or anything, any circumstance. This is the quality of a master. You don't reject anything that's going on, any person, any particular way that they're presenting themselves to you, or any circumstance that is happening in your life. Lao Tzu says he is ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. So every situation can be a catalyst for your freedom and for someone else's freedom, and it can be a catalyst for raising and lifting consciousness. And Lao Tzu said, this is called embodying the light. So see, embodying the light is not meditating until your head spins off in a ball of white light. I mean, it might be that, but it's not that. What is embodying the light? You know, we're saying light and love, light and love. I heard somebody say, a spiritual leader say this past week, I'm sick of hearing that. Well, you know, light and love, that's cool if you want to say that. I'm cool with that too. I understand where that's coming from. But the truth is, a lot of people are really suffering. So you want to be gentle with throwing that phrase around, right? So Lao Tzu is saying that if you really are a master embodying the light, what that means is that you're using every single situation and not rejecting anyone or any situation. You're using those situations for your freedom and growth. You're not wasting anything. So in that sense, there really truly is no problem, only catalyst. Yeah, you got something, babe?
Yeah, that's talking about problems reminds me of the story of the farmer, an ancient parable about a farmer has a horse, one horse, and it runs away. So the neighbor comes over and says, poor you, your horse ran away. You can't plow your field. You won't be able to feed your family. Poor you, poor you. And the farmer says, maybe. And then the horse comes back, leading 20 wild horses. So then the neighbor comes over and says, lucky you, you have all these horses, you can plow more fields, you can sell some, lucky you. And the farmer says, maybe. And then the farmer's son falls off one of these horses that he's trying to break in and breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes over and says, poor you, your son broke his leg. He won't be able to help with the horses. Poor you. And the farmer says, maybe. And then the army comes through town doing something called conscription. When they come into town and they take all the boys from age 10 to 20 or whatever and put them in the army automatically. And they couldn't take him because he had this son because he had a broken leg. So the neighbor comes over and says, lucky you, they couldn't take your son. And of course, the farmer says, maybe. So one of the differences here, he never even bothered to label something as a problem. It's like, well, let's wait and see.
I love that. And it reminds me too of there is an enlightened being from the Eastern tradition, and I can't say his name, but the story goes that this beautiful enlightened man contracted cancer and ultimately died of cancer. And his followers were heartbroken. They're just heart-wrenching for them that he was dying of cancer. But he just was at total peace, ineffable, unmovable through the whole process, all the way up to the moment of his death. He was completely accepting of the manner in which he was dying. And he kept chiding and encouraging his followers. So what? Right? He did not see it as a problem. He received it, he allowed it, he accepted it as a gift. And so it was only a problem to his followers because they had a perception that what was transpiring shouldn't be, that it shouldn't be. But perhaps it was a gift over, let's say, some other way that this master might have passed on. Perhaps it was a gift because he had that time of interchange with his followers. So going back to problems, we're recasting them like Chuck said. We're not calling them problems or labeling them at all. Instead, we're thinking of them as catalyst, as the Law of One spoke of. And a catalyst in chemistry acts on two or more forces to accelerate a change. And the cool thing about a catalyst in chemistry is that it can make that change happen without being consumed in the chemical reaction that it causes. So it's causing a reaction, it's causing a change, it's causing a shift, but it's not being consumed in that change. So this is what it means to be a master, is to, instead of seeing things as a problem, to understand them as a catalyst and to see yourself as a catalyst. You are the catalyst that is affecting a change on different people, places, and things that you're encountering. And as you're affecting this change, it's not consuming you, it's not affecting you. You're remaining stable, centered, in the middle, focused. So labeling things as a problem is going to activate your amygdala, and it's going to create an inner resistance in you. And we know that what we resist will persist. Lao Tzu said this: God is found in the good and the bad, the difficult and the easy. And the Tao doesn't take sides. It gives birth to both good and evil. A master has faith in the way things are and welcomes all things. He doesn't expect, so a master is not expecting people to be anything other than what they are, right? If people are in those lower, denser realms of consciousness, that's what is. And we don't have always a view into all the things that they may have experienced in past lives, or what their struggles are, or the pain that they've endured. And, I had a situation that happened this week where I had an interview booked with a gentleman, and he didn't show, and this was the second time this had happened. And so, of course, I'm checking out always bringing the focus back to myself. That's what we do in this work, right? We're not blaming anybody else. We're not judging them. We're just bringing the focus back to myself. And so I had a lot of grace to just kind of just shift gears and move on to the next thing, and not be concerned about it, and not be upset, and so on. But as the week unfolded, and I contacted and found out that this person is really, really struggling. They're homeless right now. They've had to go back to working a job. They've been doing really high spiritual work with a lot of service to others, and things have not been panning out very well for them. And so I was glad that I was able to not be upset and code it as what happened as a problem, or to blame him or anything like that, but to stay open to hear his struggles. We know that, right? That we don't want to react to others as much as we have the grace not to, because we don't really know what people are going through, right? So a master understands that they're just being lived by life. So we understand the law of attraction. It's important for us to begin to own that we're the creators of our own reality. But as we continue growing on up the scale of consciousness into higher realms of enlightenment, we kind of drop that law of attraction. It doesn't really work for us anymore. And there's some complicated reasons for that. But I will just say that as you move up the scale of enlightenment, you simply begin to let life live you. Let life breathe you. Let yourself experience life. So here's an illustration for that. If I'm standing at the ocean, I'm very excited. I'm going to the beach soon. If you're standing in front of the ocean, how does the law of attraction work there? Do I say to the ocean waves, I'm creating you, and you're going to move this way and then that, and this way and then that? Well, not really. It doesn't quite work like that, does it? But the ocean is one of the most powerful, I think it's the most powerful force in nature, on Mother Earth, and it does what it does. And so in the higher realms of enlightenment, we begin to understand that life does what it does. So if I want to co-create with the ocean, when I get out there in the water, I'm just going to relax. This is how I co-create with this most powerful force on the earth. I relax. I lay back. And I let the ocean take me. I let it do what it does. And I become one with it and let it do what it does. And so this is what it is to be a master. Let life, let people, let circumstances, let things unfold as they will, and just bob along in the consciousness or unconsciousness, and stay awake, stay aware, and let life do what it does. You have something?
So when I went through a period where I was able to manifest whatever I wanted, I quickly learned that what I thought was best for me was not what was best for me. And at that point, I said, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to accept and allow whatever happens to happen.
Right. And that's what, sweetie, you taught me, as I was learning the law of attraction. But then he would say, yes, but your kingdom come, your will be done, right? So leaving it to higher forces. So Lao Tzu said it this way: only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. So to really be yourself, to really be your higher self, your best self, you're just letting life live you. You're letting life live you. You're flowing with life. You're accepting life on its own terms. So a master is open to everything and trusts his natural responses, or her natural responses to whatever is. Trust your responses. I grew up, good Southern Baptist Christian girl. And if I got really mad or hot or upset about something, well, I thought that was later, I would feel like that was tragic, that I shouldn't have behaved that way. Well, I feel a little differently about it now. I can trust my natural responses. If I'm a part of life and life's doing what it does and something happens and I suddenly get angry, well, that's just what was meant to be. That's what was meant to be. So, knowing that everything will fall into place. And a master understands that the positive and the negative, the good and the bad, all of it's sacred, the right, the wrong, it's all sacred, the light, the dark. So, I want to read this passage to you from the Tao Te Ching. Do you want to improve the world? I don't think it can be done. This is Lao Tzu's way of saying, there are no problems. You can't improve the world, right? We waste so much of our energy, our spiritual energy, fighting the good fight for this cause and that cause and the other cause. And I'm not saying the causes aren't good, because there are a lot of injustices in the world, but we can spend our spiritual energy on those things, resisting things that just are what they are. And those things are going to spin out in the cycle of evolution as we continue on and just becoming more conscious people. Our resisting them or fighting them is not going to make the process go any faster. It's a natural process of evolution. The world is sacred. It can't be improved. If you tamper with it, you will ruin it. If you treat it like an object, you will lose it. There is a time for being ahead, a time for being behind, a time for being in motion, and a time for being at rest. There's a time for being vigorous and a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe and a time for being in danger. The master sees things exactly as they are without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides in the center of the circle. And I think it's interesting that that passage, which was written in like 600 BC, that is so much like the old ancient Hebrew scripture from Ecclesiastes that says, to everything there is a season and a time and a purpose for everything under heaven. There's a time to be born and a time to die, right? I was just channeling with Judah this week, and this was coming up, that we have, especially in America and in more European cultures, we have all this resistance to aging, right? Like, take whatever pills you can and shots and exercise till you're about to drop, even though you're 50 and your body's not meant to run 20 miles a day anymore. We do all this stuff to try to keep from aging, and it's total nonsense. Total nonsense. There is a time to be born and there is a time to die. Go ahead, Sweet.
I was just going to say that I do get angry, or when somebody does get angry, it's important to remember that I am the one watching the anger. I am not the anger.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to plant, and a time to uproot things. I was talking to another person today that has invested years in a very beautiful and powerful spiritual work, similar to what we're doing here, many years in it. But they're sick of it. They're tired of it. It's not making them happy anymore. It's not giving them joy. And you know what I said to him? It's okay to let it die. It's okay to shut it down. I mean, if me working with Judah, if my joy, if I had no joy in it, or it wasn't benefiting people, it wasn't serving others or serving myself, it's totally fine to kill something, right? There's a time to build works, and then there's a time also to shut them down, right? And that takes more courage than building something successful. What takes more courage is having the wisdom to shut it down when it's outlived its usefulness or it's no longer providing joy and excitement in your life. And so So that is the mark of a real spiritual leader. And that's where a lot of, like in the Christian realm, I'm sure it happens in the New Age and other realms as well. But I happen to have more experience with the Christian side of it from my past. And, sometimes Christian leaders are very dynamic, very energetic. They can build massive churches, right? But then something goes awry. Something goes awry and it gets really far away from the heart, really far away from its original purpose. People are getting hurt, people are being abused, people are being neglected or abandoned, and it's just gone in the wrong direction. And so I'm looking, are there spiritual leaders out there that have the courage to shut down something when it's no longer of service, when it's starting to look like a two-headed freak instead of something of the nature of God, right? There's a time to weep. There's a time to laugh, mourn, dance. There's a time to be silent and a time to speak. There is a time to love and there is a time to hate. So mastery is being aware, but it's accepting. Being aware of the ego's tricks, being aware of the tendency to judge and code things as right, wrong, good, bad. I won't, I don't, I want this, I don't want that. I want this, I don't want that. I want this, I don't want that. This is what the ego does. It wants to code everything. So awareness of the ego's tricks and acceptance, erasing the word problem and calling them catalyst instead, accepting whatever is, and then action. After all that, then action. So what are some of the actions we can take? We talked about them some last week. The first one is mindless meditation, right? Mindless, wordless, deep, still, delta level meditation. This is the first action to take when there's a quote unquote problem. Because remember, the problem's not what's going on outside, it's how you're allowing it to disturb and upset your insides. Meditation first. Jesus was famous for saying on many occasions, repent, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Repent, repent. Well, the church and religion has just totally twisted and distorted that word. What that word, it doesn't mean cry and weep and feel sad about everything bad that you've ever done. That's not what it means. What it means is return or turn in. Jesus was saying, return in, turn back towards the God inside of you. Turn back into your heart. Turn inwards in meditation. Turn inwards. Relax and release. So, mindless meditation. If you're not there, if you're meditating and it seems like a bust, so what? Keep doing it. Keep trying. Keep coming back. I promise it is a skill that is learnable and there is nothing wrong with you. And if your mind goes nuts when you sit down in meditation, just trust me when I say it happens to everybody. And if you will keep doing it, eventually you'll be able to drop into meditation so quickly and your mind will get really quiet and you'll find that stillness. Good, good, good. Yes, and we want to speak about this, my dears. We want to tell you that meditation, deep meditation, is the place where you meet your angels. It is the place where you discover who you are for the very first time. It is the place where you remember who you were before you were dropped into your mother's womb. It is the place where you began to find the true you, your eternal parts, and you begin to memorize what God feels like, what peace feels like, what love feels like. It is the place where energy begins to flow in through your body, top down, top down, top down, through your crown chakra, and flooding all of your energy centers, all of your cells, all of your organs. And so don't be deterred. Don't be deterred. If there's nothing else you can do, do that. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Meditate before you go to the doctor. Meditate before you make a decision. Meditate before you go on that date, even if it's for 1 minute in the car. Close your eyes and let your thoughts melt down into your heart for a moment of nothing, you see. And in this place, you begin to let go of everything that is disturbing you and troubling you. You must take the reins of your mind, my dears. Take the reins, take the reins, take the reins. No one else can do it for you. It is the one and only task that you have that is given to you in this life that no one else can do for you. And that is to become the master of your thought life. The master of your thought life. You see, your thoughts will keep you running like a hamster on a wheel. What I want, what I don't want, what I want, what I don't want, what I want, what I don't want, and so on. And your mind can torment you with these types of disturbances. And so you must get off the wheel. You must get off the wheel. You must find your way off the wheel. And in meditation, you begin to find what it feels like for yourself to be off the wheel, to be still, to be quiet, and so on. So continue on in it and do not give up. Good. So meditation is the first way that we let go, that we release, that we relax, that we let go of our problems. Meditation. Do that first before you do anything else. One day I was walking down the street and I saw one of those brown bags full of leaves by the side of the road that said Home Depot, where doers get things done. And I immediately heard Judah say, meditation, where doers get things done. Meditation is where you get things done. It's where you get things done. It's not picking up the phone. It's not running your mouth. It's not watching more videos of Judah or anybody else out there. Meditation is where you get things done for you and what matters to you. The second action that we can take is the action of inaction. The action of inaction. It is a holy decision to make, to not do a thing. It is the core teaching of Taoism. It is a teaching of the masters like Lao Tzu. You want to share something?
Yeah, I would just like to add that meditation is also a place where you get things undone.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get undone? All those unconscious beliefs that no longer serve you.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So inaction is an action when we engage it intentionally. So some of you out there, Judah wants to speak to this. Some of you out there have judged yourself very harshly and said, you call yourself lazy, you call yourself indecisive. We want to say for some of you, that's absolutely not true. It's simply that you have an innate intuition to stop before doing something foolish or unhelpful. And so stop calling yourself lazy and indecisive and tell yourself when you feel, you feel a no inside, you feel a no, or you feel it's not time yet. When you feel that, instead say, pat yourself on the back and say, I'm not going to make a decision right now. My decision is not to make a decision. You see, there are some of you even that have pushed yourself or allowed others to push you out of jobs or push you out of marriages or relationships, when in truth you were not ready and your soul knew it, your higher self knew it. And you felt your ego was telling you, whispering and saying, well, you're just being indecisive. Well, the truth was, on some deeper level, you knew that it was not time to make a decision. And so allow yourself to make the decision to not do a thing. Good. So in action, when you make this decision, it requires real trust. It's back to what we were talking about earlier, trusting that life does what it does and things unfold as they should. Wouldn't you think it was crazy if I went out in the yard and I picked a flower and it was just a tight little bud and I started peeling the petals back to open the flower up? Well, you would think that's nuts, right? But we're doing that all the time in our life. We're forcing things open. We're forcing things to open before it's time. We're forcing things in an unnatural way instead of simply letting life unfold, letting the flower bloom in the perfect timing in which it blooms. Lao Tzu said, "Practice not doing, and everything will fall into place." So this kind of inaction is really an inherent wisdom of God. Wisdom, right? Wisdom is able to be still and let things unfold. Take the hands off, and getting off the triangle. You might even want to put a little something around your wrist or write it on your hand, hands off. I remember years ago when I was teaching school, one year I had a particularly challenging year. My kids were reflecting back to me, my students, one of my core issues. And they were reflecting it to me in that they were constantly in each other's business. Miss Hipple, he did this and she did that and la 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 la. And it was just driving me nuts. So I had a bracelet made and I had the initials put on it, MYOB. Mind your own business. And I wrote on the wall a big piece of art that said, mind your own business. Well, actually, it said, is it your business? Is it my business? Or is it God's business? So when the kids would start tattletaling on each other and come to me, blah, 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 I would have them look up at the sign and they would read it. I would say, is that your business? They'd say, no. Is it their business? Yes. Is it God's business? And so we used all year long, we used those 3 questions to determine, is it my business? Is it your business? Or is it God's business? And of course, I had it on my bracelet because I needed to be constantly reminded to be hands off, to let life unfold, let people be what they are, stay off the drama triangle, get off the drama, right? Just step back from it. So go ahead, sweetie.
Just reminds me that there was this gentleman that did ballet, and I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. He's very famous, Nureyev, and he would stay up in the air when he jumped up very, very long, and people would say to him, "How do you stay up there so long?" And he would say, "I don't know. When I try, I can't do it. I can only do it when I don't try."
Right, not trying. Love it. So stay off the drama triangle. If you guys have not heard this teaching, it's here. We'll try to dig up the link and put it here for you. I also have some resources for you if you want to email us at thejudahchannel@gmail.com. I will send you those for free. But stay off the drama triangle. The triangle, there are 3 ego roles that the ego plays: rescuer, victim, and persecutor. Rescuer, victim, and persecutor. So when you feel yourself kind of getting sucked in, you feel compelled to fix something for somebody, or mad because they're not doing what they should, or victimized. I feel so victimized by this situation. Do what you can to get off the triangle. Remove your piece from the Jenga game, right? When everybody's contributing their BS, pull your part out. Just stop playing your part. Starve the fires with silence. I love this. Judah gave me this phrase when I was writing these notes this week. Starve the fire with silence. Starve the drama. Starve the conflict. You know, a fire, if it's not fed things to burn, it will die out. And there's a passage in the New Testament that says this: the tongue is a fire. It's a world of wickedness among the parts of the body. It pollutes the whole person and sets the whole course of your life on fire. So I looked up the original Greek on this verse, and there's riches in here. So it says the tongue is a fire. That word tongue there means language. So language is like a fire. Words are like a fire. Words can start strife. Words language is eternal in nature. That word fire there in the original Greek actually means eternal fire. Eternal fire. Well, what do we think of when we think of eternal fire? We think of hell, right? So it's basically saying words. You want to know what hell is? I'm going to tell you what it is. It's not a geographical location. It is something caused by our words, by the way we use our language and our thoughts. It's a world of hurt. That word wickedness there means hurt. It's a world of hurt, and it pollutes the whole body. And that word body there means soma. We know this word soma, right? Somatic responses and so on. So your words can very quickly poison, pollute your physical body and cause you to be ill. And it also says here in this verse that it sets the whole course of your life on fire. And that word fire there means the Valley of Hinnom. And that was an actual geographic location in Israel where pagans would go out and throw their children, their infant children, into a burning fire in sacrifice to darkness, basically, to dark entities. So we have to be mindful, right, of our words. I was so guilty, man. Chuck will tell you last weekend, my mouth, it was the ego was like, my mouth was just running 90 miles an hour. And I was literally fueling the fire of pain, of hurting myself and hurting others with my words. Proverbs 10:19 says, where there are a lot of words, error is unavoidable, but he who restrains his lips is wise. So the inaction that we need to take is to just be quiet sometimes, just to be quiet. So when we stop talking, when we feel compelled to talk, if we'll stop talking, that it will deflate the ego, it will disarm the ego, and it will reduce our karma. Now, there is a time when you need to speak up for yourself, but that's when you're feeling compelled by fear not to talk. So in our inaction, we're observing life, we're flowing with life, we're not throwing fuel on the fire. I love this quote from Osho. He said, the very concept of doing has been the cause of your misery. The concept that something has to be done is the cause of your misery. And he said, karma means doing. It doesn't mean doing bad. It simply means doing. So if we want to stop karma, if we want to stop creating more karma for ourselves, and if we want to undo the karma that sucks for us, we need to stop doing. Stop doing. And Osho said, don't pay much attention to the doing. Pay much attention to the being. Don't think about what's to be done. Think of who you are. So I think this is a good place to stop. We didn't get to number 3. That's okay. We can save it for another time. Let's do a little work here. I'll let Chuck share whatever he wants to share. Then we're going to do some work to help us in this area. You have anything? Okay. All right. You guys ready? If you're in a safe location, close your eyes. Let your heart melt. Let your thoughts melt down into your heart. Open heart, open mind. Open heart, open mind. We're going to do some releasing, some relaxing and releasing right here on everything we've been talking about. We're going to do some releasing around our problems. Our problems. Here we go. So could you welcome the things that are disturbing you? Could you welcome the problems? Could you welcome the person or persons that seem to be the source or the creation of this problem, this drama, this pain, this conflict? Could you welcome them? Could you allow this package of this problem? Could you allow it to be a catalyst for change? Could you allow yourself to be a catalyst for change? Could you allow yourself to be the master that you are, to be the catalyst that's immovable, unchanging? Can you see that the part of you that is a master, the part of you that is enlightened, that part of you will not be burned up or hurt or harmed in this situation, but that eternal part of you will endure, will be at peace, will be immovable? And could you let go of judging the situation and the persons, maybe even the political systems, the people on the political stage of the world? Could you allow all the injustice that you see, all of it? Could you allow it? Could you allow it, knowing that maybe you don't understand, but there is one who understands, who knows, who sees all things, and is allowing all things for a purpose, for a high purpose, for the purpose of evolution, for all of us, a gift for all of us to raise our level of consciousness and state of being. And that everything that is happening is transpiring so that we can become more of our Godness. So there can be more God in the earth, more God in humanity, more life, more love, more joy. So could you welcome the problems? And if you can't welcome the problems, could you allow your resistance to the problem? Could you observe that? Could you observe your resistance to the problems? And could you make a space for it? Welcome your resistance to the problem. And then could you let it go? And would you let it go? And could you welcome awareness, a new awareness around problems? Could you welcome the awareness if there is ego at play, if there is something inside that needs to feel special? Could you allow that? Could you allow that part of you to arise that needs the conflict, that needs the problem? Could you allow that sometimes there's a part of you that needs to be right or needs to feel special? Could you welcome that part? Could you welcome that part? Could you allow yourself to feel the resistance and then to let it go? Could you even welcome the resistance? Welcome the resistance. And could you let it go? And would you let it go? And could you even, that feeling of tension across your chest, that gripping feeling, could you allow that? And then could you let it go? Fear, do you want to go? Yes. And fear, do you want to go? Yes, yes, yes. Fear, do you want to go? Yes. And could you allow your thoughts, you're on the hamster wheel, could you allow them and just watch them? Could you allow the thoughts about what you want and what you don't want? Could you allow them? And then could you let them go? And could you welcome that feeling that you have sometimes, that where you feel compelled to speak, and you feel compelled, and you feel like you can't stop. Could you allow that? Mhm, mhm, mhm. And could you welcome that feeling? And then could you allow that energy to just express itself any way that it wants to? Could you just allow it? And then when it passes, when it's expressed itself, could you let it go? Could you welcome that it came and that it went, and that you don't have to think anything more about it or judge it or do anything about it? You can just let it pass. And could you tell the truth that sometimes you like the drama? Mhm. 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 Good. And could you welcome the catalyst? Could you welcome the change that they're going to bring in you and around you and about you? Hmm. Hmm. Good. Do you have anything you want to share, sweetie?
Before we go,
Mhm.
I thought maybe you might want to just give a moment to our visitor tonight in
Mhm.
here and see if maybe they wanted to say something. Maybe that's why they're
Yeah.
here.
Mhm. Yeah. Chuck said, in case you're signing in later, he said earlier that he saw an ancient Chinese man here with us visiting, and I do feel him. Yeah. We're going to let him speak. Mhm. I think it's Lao Tzu.
Probably.
Mhm. Good. I've never channeled Lao Tzu, but he's here, yes. And so we're going to welcome him and allow him to say what he will. Mhm. It is an honor to be here, and I am a man of very few words. Stay close to your center. Be true to who you are. Nothing complex is needed. Eat, sleep, work, love, laugh, serve. Maintain the integrity of your own heart. Wisdom is to do what works. Wisdom is to stop doing what is not working. Simplify your life. Far too many choices in your culture. And these are like infinite pathways in an artificial mind. However, the mind of God is quiet and focused. So hold to the center and simplify your choices. I have set forth my words in the writing this vessel is so fond of, and she shall be transformed by these few, only 5,000 words of mine, and I need not add anything to that. For anyone who would adhere to these shall be a master in this life. Thank you.
We are so honored and so grateful that you stopped by, and know that you are welcome anytime. We would be honored, even if you just want to be in silence.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What a wonderful, unexpected surprise. All right, let's sing a little transmissions. So I just want to dedicate this transmission then in honor of Lao Tzu's visit tonight. And I want to ask him for a transmission of mastery and wisdom for living this human life. Mastery and wisdom for living this human life. Oia ina io chora daverete ono. Kimwa te redro narezzo bambarea. Shiva marere te redoro kadona. Isha vale vero tomare. Ivorotore vararo mavera. Shiva retere atenoro male. Ivoroto mavere ono karema. Vea male veorianom. Shiva malelom navalema. Shiva malale aleono havala. Kiamaleve alla meleole loro. Tivale para via zero doma. Giare viaria tsevoro. Ivororo neare orundavera. Ishovoro neaverorum mavare. Igovoro dona veotsi vareshna. Iva marare odinaron kama. Shiva marere, Shiva namere, Kivororo meare norum malenum. Ivororo niavararo staveka, Ishama marea rivano havila. Kivararania verono shavo. And may love and wisdom be your protectors all week long. Love and wisdom be your protectors all week long. May Judah surround you with protection, with peace. May your energy glow like a hot fire. May your energy be renewed with white light energy from Judah and Source and angels. May you be ever more aware of the presence of your angels and your guides. May you be ever wiser as you walk and move through your life. Ever wiser, ever wiser, ever wiser. May you be free this week of all the tricks of the mind. May your mind relax, recede, and be quieted and at peace. Amen. Thank you all so much. We love you. We're so grateful for you. You are our family. Have a wonderful, blessed week, and I'll see you back here next week, hopefully in Charlotte if you can make it. We'll be live with our friends at the Refuge next week, and we'll see you then.